Here is a question that most organizations never ask, because the answer is too uncomfortable. Of all the time your product or service spends in your process, from the moment a customer places an order to the moment they receive what they asked for, what percentage of that time is actually spent creating value? In most manufacturing organizations, the answer is between 1 and 10%. In many service organizations and software development teams, it is similar or lower. The majority of time is spent waiting for the previous step to finish, waiting for approval, waiting for materials, waiting for a queue to clear, waiting for information. The work happens in brief bursts. The waiting happens continuously. And because waiting is invisible, there is no machine running, no person active, no obvious signal that something is wrong. It rarely gets the attention it deserves. Taiichi Ohno, the engineer who developed the Toyota production system in the 1950s, articulated the problem precisely. All we are doing is looking at the timeline, from the moment the customer gives us an order to the point when we collect the cash. And we are reducing the timeline by reducing the non-value adding wastes. Value stream mapping is the tool that makes the timeline visible. It traces every step a product or service takes through a process, categorizes each step as value adding or non-value adding, measures the time each step takes and the time spent waiting between steps, and produces a map that shows, with uncomfortable clarity, where the time and cost really go. Welcome to the Catalyst. This is episode 23. Today we cover value stream mapping, its origins in the Toyota production system, the distinction between value-adding and non-value adding activities, how to build a current state and future state map, and how organizations are applying it far beyond manufacturing to professional services, healthcare, and software development. Value stream mapping originated inside Toyota in the decades following the Second World War, as part of what became known as the Toyota production system. The operational philosophy that Taiichi Ohno and his colleagues developed as Toyota rebuilt its manufacturing capability in the 1950s and 1960s. Within Toyota, the tool was called Material and Information Flow Mapping, a name that reflects its two-dimensional character. A value stream map captures not just the physical flow of materials or work, but the information flow that triggers and coordinates each step. The framework was brought to a Western audience through Jim Womack and Daniel Jones's 1996 book Lean Thinking, and more specifically through Mike Rother and John Shook's 1998 book Learning to See, which provided the first detailed practical guide to drawing value stream maps. By the early 2000s, value stream mapping had become central to lean manufacturing programs in automotive, aerospace, pharmaceutical, and consumer goods industries worldwide. General Electric, under Jack Welch's Six Sigma program, Boeing in its aerospace manufacturing operations, and Intel in its semiconductor fabrication have all used value stream mapping to identify and eliminate waste at scale, with documented cost and lead time reductions that in many cases exceeded 50%. The foundation of value stream mapping is a three-way categorization of every activity in a process. Value-adding activities are steps that directly transform the product or service in ways the customer would recognize and is willing to pay for. In manufacturing, cutting a piece of metal to specification is value-adding. In professional services, writing a legal argument is value-adding. In software development, writing functional code is value-adding. These are the steps the customer is actually buying. Non-value adding but necessary activities are steps that do not directly add customer value, but are required by legal, regulatory, or operational constraints that cannot currently be removed. Regulatory compliance checks, certain quality inspections, and some documentation requirements fall into this category. They cannot be eliminated without changing the environment the organization operates in, but they should be minimized and streamlined wherever possible. Non-value adding and unnecessary activities, also called pure waste, are steps that add neither customer value nor regulatory necessity. Waiting for approvals that could be delegated. Moving materials between storage locations that are poorly arranged. Re-entering information that was already captured in a different system. Reworking output that was defective because of an upstream process failure. These are the targets of value stream mapping improvement work. OHNO identified 7 categories of waste: overproduction, waiting, unnecessary transport, overprocessing, excess inventory, unnecessary motion, and defects. In most processes, the waiting and inventory categories account for the majority of total lead time, and they are the ones most invisible to people who work inside the process every day. A value stream mapping exercise follows a consistent 4-step process. Step 1 is selecting the value stream. A value stream is the end-to-end sequence of steps from customer order to customer delivery for a specific product family or service type. In a complex organization, there may be dozens of value streams. Start with the one that is most commercially important, most time-sensitive, or most visibly problematic. Step 2 is creating the current state map. This requires walking the actual process from end to end, not mapping it from a desk based on process documentation, but physically following the product or service through every step, timing each activity, counting inventory between steps, and documenting information flows. The current state map will almost always reveal surprises. Steps that nobody knew existed. Inventory accumulations that nobody had quantified. Delays between steps that seemed routine, but when measured are revealed to consume days of total lead time. Step 3 is identifying improvement opportunities. On the current state map, the team marks the problems, the points of accumulation, the longest waits, the most significant sources of defects and rework. These become the focus of the improvement effort. The goal is not to optimize every step slightly. It is to identify the steps that account for the majority of total waste and address them first. Step 4 is designing the future state map. The future state is not a theoretical ideal. It is a realistic, implementable vision of how the value stream should flow after specific improvements have been made. The future state map becomes the implementation plan, showing what will change and in what sequence to move the process from its current state to its target condition. Value stream mapping began in manufacturing, but has been applied with equal effect in any environment with repeatable, multi-step processes. In healthcare, Virginia Mason Medical Center in Seattle used value stream mapping to redesign patient pathways and administrative processes, achieving significant reductions in patient waiting times and process errors. Applying Toyota's lean manufacturing principles directly to hospital operations. In software development, value stream mapping has been adapted to trace the flow of code from development through review, testing, deployment, and release. Identifying where work accumulates in queues, where handoffs create delays, and where the process from code commit to production release can be compressed. Companies like Spotify and Netflix have used this approach to achieve deployment cycles measured in minutes, not weeks. In financial services, mortgage application processes that once took weeks have been mapped and redesigned, using value stream mapping principles to identify steps where information was being requested multiple times, where documents were sitting in approval queues, and where the customer's experience was being unnecessarily extended by internal process design. 5 things to carry from this episode. 1. Most time in most processes is not spent creating value. The gap between how long a process takes and how long the value-adding steps actually take is almost always larger than people inside the process believe. Measuring this gap is the first step to closing it. 2. Waste is invisible when you are inside the process. The value stream. Mapping methodology requires walking the process physically, not describing it from memory or documentation, because only direct observation reveals where time actually goes. 3. Waiting and inventory are the largest and most neglected sources of waste. 7 types of waste exist. The most universal are waiting and excess inventory, which accumulate between steps whenever process steps are not properly connected. These are also the hardest to see without a map. 4. The current state map is not the goal. It is the diagnostic. The value is in the future state. The realistic, implementable vision of how the process will flow once improvements are made. A map without an improvement plan is a diagnosis without treatment. 5. Your action. Identify one multi-step process in your organization that consistently takes longer than it should. Time each step and the weight between each step. Calculate what percentage of the total time is genuinely value-adding. The gap you find is your improvement opportunity. Coming up on episode 24 of The Catalyst, we talk about focus, Pareto analysis, the 80-20 rule, why 20% of your causes are producing 80% of your results, how to identify which 20% that is, and how to redesign your effort, your resources, and your priorities around the vital few rather than the useful many. Stay tuned.